Let's dive right into this explainer and uncover the absolute largest creature to ever exist on our planet. When we think of giants, our minds naturally wander way back in time to massive beasts roaming a prehistoric Earth. But what if I told you the greatest giant in the history of our world isn't some fossil dug up from the dirt? Nope, it's actually alive right now, swimming silently through the deep blue sea. So let's unpack the incredible reality of Earth's living leviathans. So, what is the largest creature ever known to exist on Earth? Think about it for a second. If you threw this question out at your next trivia night, you'd probably hear a whole chorus of dinosaur names shouted right back at you, wouldn't you? I mean, we're basically conditioned from childhood to believe the true age of giants has long passed. But the real answer totally shatters that assumption completely. When most people imagine giant creatures, they immediately picture the iconic Tyrannosaurus Rex ruling the land. But here's the crazy part. Even the mighty T-Rex would look like a household pet sitting next to the colossal animal currently hanging out in our oceans. Hidden beneath thousands of meters of dark water, this modern giant has evolved to challenge our very understanding of scale. The hard data on this is just staggering. Take the Argentinosaurus, which is often cited as the absolutely largest known dinosaur. It maxed out around 35 meters in length and weighed roughly 70 tons, which, hey, sounds massive, right? But then you look at the living blue whale. This guy weighs in at a mind-bending 180 tons. In sheer mass, the blue whale completely dwarfs the biggest dinosaurs we know of. Honestly, it's not even a close contest. All right, let's move right into Section 1, Anatomy of a Leviathan, and talk about this mind-boggling mass. 180 tons. Think about that number. That is 180 tons of living tissue, muscle, and bone, gracefully navigating the ocean. To put that sheer mass into perspective before we even start zooming in on its individual organs, its tail alone is wider than the room you're sitting in right now. Wild, right? To really make the scale tangible, imagine an engine the exact size of a small car. Well, that's the size of a blue whale's heart. Just a massive pump needed to push blood through its gigantic body. And its tongue? The tongue alone weighs as much as an entire adult elephant. If you somehow stood beside one of these animals, its body would stretch out longer than a professional basketball court. It's a skill that just almost completely defies human comprehension. And, it's one of nature's most beautiful ironies. A creature longer than a basketball court doesn't actually hunt giant prey. Instead, it survives almost entirely on tiny, little creatures called krill. It executes this incredibly precise feeding mechanism, first opening its enormous mouth to swallow just massive amounts of water, then filtering that prey through special baleen plates, and finally expelling the water while trapping the food. Using this specialized filtration system, it consumes several tons of tiny krill every single day. Okay, moving on to Section 2, the anti-gravity secret, looking at the physics of evolution. So you might be wondering, exactly why do these spectacular giants exist in the sea rather than on land? Well, it all comes down to gravity. On land, gravity physically restricts size. Your bone and muscle can only support so much mass before they literally just collapse under their own weight. But in the ocean, buoyancy literally does the heavy lifting. The water naturally supports the animal's body weight, totally defying gravity and allowing marine animals to grow to staggering sizes that are completely impossible for land-dwelling creatures. If we look back millions of years ago, ancient oceans were home to some truly terrifying predators, like mosasaurs, which reached lengths of around 15 meters. And centuries ago, sailors brought back legendary tales of giant tentacled monsters attacking their ships. But in the present day, 30-meter blue whales silently rule the deep. It's crazy to think that even the most terrifying marine predators of the dinosaur age were actually less than half the size of today's whales. Of course, navigating these vast, buoyant ocean expanses requires some absolutely incredible adaptations. Because they spend most of their lives far, far away from human populations, blue whales communicate through low-frequency sounds that can actually travel hundreds of kilometers underwater. So one whale can literally hear another from vast distances across the pitch-black ocean, beautifully bridging the immense, lonely gaps between them. That brings us to Section 3, Monsters of the Deep and Life in the Darkness. Now, deep beneath the surface lies another fascinating mystery, one that totally blurs the line between those ancient sailor legends and modern science, the colossal squid. This is a massive, deeply hidden ocean predator, and because it lives in freezing, high-pressure regions where sunlight literally never reaches, it has evolved these enormous eyes specifically to see in absolute pitch dark. Stuff we once considered just mythical sea monsters, yeah, we now know these impressive animals are very, very real. But just how unexplored are these ocean depths? Well, consider this for a second. More people have actually walked on the moon than have visited some of the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. Think about that. The ocean covers over 70% of our planet, yet a massive portion of it remains completely alien and entirely unseen by human eyes. Let's shift gears to Section 4, protecting ocean giants and the fragile ecosystem they live in.
With that vastness comes a lot of responsibility for us. Modern threats to whale populations are serious, and sadly, they're entirely human-caused. We're talking about things like deadly ship strikes, extreme ocean pollution, climate change, and highly disruptive noise from human activities. So, even though commercial whaling has largely ended, these modern obstacles mean the recovery of whale populations worldwide remains dangerously slow.
But hey, there is definitely a hopeful note as we look to the future. Rapidly advancing technology is pushing the boundaries of exploration every single day. New submarines, underwater robots, and super advanced cameras are actively helping researchers study these incredible animals right in their natural habitats. They're revealing completely hidden ecosystems and even strange animals with glowing bodies that nobody has ever seen before. Which really brings us to the ultimate mystery of Earth's final frontier. Could there still be completely undiscovered giants living down in those deepest trenches? A lot of researchers firmly believe unknown species may still exist in these barely explored regions. Every wave that reaches the shore carries a reminder that beneath the surface lies a world that is larger, stranger, and way more mysterious than we can even imagine. So, what other magnificent secrets do you think are waiting in the uncharted abyss?